Welcome to the channel Directors R. We have seen many series and movies which are really interesting to watch, but Money Heist series was able to keep audience on the edge from the beginning to the end. Unlike any other series or movie, Money Heist was able to create suspense and tension in the story from the beginning. Audience feel adrenaline rush when the characters face danger in the story, and they feel relaxed when the conflict is resolved. Money Heist has become a global phenomenon. It has worldwide fans, and it is really good at creating tension in the audience. How is this possible? What is the secret behind this? Is it because of great story or good acting or great direction? Let's find out. Number 1. Information. In the series, there are multiple storylines at different places happening simultaneously. Number 1. Professor's storyline outside the museum. 2. Heist storyline in the museum. 3. Police storyline in the tent and other locations. 4. Flashback storyline happening in the past. They usually start with any one of the storylines and they take the conflict to the pinnacle and they stop the storyline without resolving it. And they start other storyline, resulting a hook in the story. A hook is a point in the story which keeps the audience engaging. Since the audience are in the dark without knowing what is happening, when full information is not revealed to the audience, suspense is created in the story. In the series, this technique is commonly used to keep audience hooked to the story. In one episode of the series, a character leaves a car without destroying it. So police finds out the key by seeing the footage recorded in the museum when Tokyo and Rio visited the museum. So, the first storyline is Professor's storyline, where he wants to find the car and wipe the evidence. Second storyline is Police storyline, where they want to find out the car. Third storyline is action happening in the museum with Berlin. Fourth storyline is the flashback of Tokyo and Rio visiting the museum. In storyline 1, where Professor visits a car parking lot to find the car. However, the owner finds out and chases him and locks him in the hanging car. Meanwhile, the police are trying to find the details of the car. The parking lot owner is about to crush the car in which Professor is hiding. The scene cuts to the storyline 4 of flashback where Tokyo and Rio visiting the museum. And when the tension in the storyline 4 reaches to the highest point, it cuts to Berlin storyline. After resolving all the conflict in the story in all storylines, they usually start a new conflict in any one of the storyline and they stop it abruptly, which in the end a hook is created at the climax so that the audience will watch the next episode. If only one hook is kept in the story, audience won't be able to feel adrenaline rush, so the writers created hooks in the all storylines simultaneously at the same time. But here comes the second technique without finishing the first technique. Number 2. Empathy. During season 1 and 2, characters' arc development is shown in the story. We have been introduced to the inner side of the characters by telling their story in flashback storyline, and it helps the audience to know better about them. In the fourth storyline, where Tokyo and Rio visited the museum, that day she comes to know that her mother has passed away, and Tokyo tells to Rio her past, about the scary night where she was alone and she faced the dark when she is 8 years old. But why the writers have taken the trouble to create flashback stories to them? Let's come back to this in a moment. Meanwhile, don't forget, it is empathy. Then comes the third, high stakes and character conflicts. The writers have created really tension situations by raising the stakes high. If every situation is dangerous, we tend to feel scared. Then a conflict is created in the story and characters fight with each other in a tensed moment. When everything is dangerous and the characters are fighting over ego issues to satisfy their internal goal. In the storyline 3, Berlin took female hostages to a separate room individually to play his little mind games with them, just to satisfy his ego. Where Berlin was called a weak person in the previous episode. At the same time, in the storyline 1, Professor has cleared the prince, but the police has surrounded the location. This unresolving non-linear story narration technique is a deliberate choice made by the writers to create tension in the story. Coming back to the point number 2, empathy. When the characters fight with each other during the conflict, we tend to take sides because the empathy is created with the characters. If the audience able to understand the internal struggle of a character facing in the series, like Berlin's ego issue and Tokyo's cocky attitude, we tend to take sides with the character, and the result is audience will be on the edge, caring for the character. When they are in dangerous situations and still they are fighting for the internal goal, like Berlin is fighting for the ego, Tokyo is crying for the mother's death, but the external goal is wiping the evidence from the car. Then the audience attention is shifted to the primary goal of the story. Professor is fighting to save other members of the gang by clearing the evidence. The audience will be more connected to the story when the empathy is created. Then moving on to the point number 1, information. When the characters are put into dangerous situations and then a final information is provided to the audience about an escape plan created where the professor is surrounded by police and he has wiped out all the fingerprints from the car. Then he disguises himself into a homeless beggar, injures himself with a screwdriver and walks away from the location in front of them by staying disguised. As the stakes are really high and we have connected the characters and the information is revealed at the last moment, with these the tension and suspense in the story is created and the emotions of the audience will be on a joyride. When the audience are relaxed as the problem is solved, everything has come under control. Wait, a new conflict arises again and the cycle of tension and suspense repeats. That's how Money Heist series created the magic. Hope you understand this writing technique. Money Heist is streaming in Netflix right now. Go watch it. Thank you. There are more videos of us explaining the science of filmmaking. This will be really helpful for aspiring filmmakers. Do subscribe, like the video. It really helps us in making good content for you.